You think you know Roman Reigns? You think you understand the depths of manipulation this man will sink to? Well, buckle up because what happened behind closed doors between Roman and Jey Uso will absolutely infuriate you and prove that the tribal chief has officially lost his damn mind. This isn't just family drama anymore, this is psychological warfare at its most disgusting level, and I'm about to expose every single twisted detail that WWE doesn't want you to know about. The wrestling world has been buzzing for weeks about the tension between Roman Reigns and his cousin Jey Uso, but what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about their relationship. We're talking about a phone conversation that took place just 48 hours ago, a conversation so manipulative, so calculated, and so downright cruel that it makes Roman's previous actions look like child's play. But before we dive into this absolute bombshell, I need you to do something. Look at Roman Reigns' recent behavior and tell me in the comments, at what point did you realize that Roman had completely lost touch with reality? Because what I'm about to tell you proves that the man we once cheered as a hero has become something far more sinister than any villain we've ever seen in professional wrestling. Here's what went down, and I'm warning you right now, this is going to make your blood boil. Roman Reigns, the self-proclaimed head of the table, called Jey Uso at 2 in the morning. Not a text, not a casual conversation backstage, a calculated, premeditated phone call designed to tear apart what little remained of Jey's sanity and self-respect. The conversation started innocent enough. Roman's voice, according to sources close to the situation, was calm, almost brotherly. He asked about Jey's family, his kids, his wife. Normal family conversation, right? Wrong. This was Roman setting the trap, and Jey, poor, trusting Jey, walked right into it like a lamb to slaughter. "I've been thinking about us," Roman reportedly said, using that nickname that once meant brotherhood but now sounds like poison dripping from his lips. "About what we built together, about what we could still accomplish." Can you believe the audacity? After months of psychological torture, after destroying Jey's confidence and self-worth, Roman has the nerve to talk about what they built together? But here's where it gets absolutely disgusting. Roman then laid out what he called one final test, a job so twisted, so morally corrupt that it proves beyond any doubt that Roman Reigns has become everything wrong with professional wrestling today. He wants Jey to destroy someone's career. Not just beat them in a match, not just cost them a title opportunity, completely and utterly destroy their professional wrestling career. The target? A rising star in WWE who has been gaining momentum and fan support. Someone who reminds Roman of what he used to be before power corrupted him completely. Roman's exact words, and I quote from my source who was present during a follow-up conversation, "I need you to make sure they never recover from what you do to them. Not just their body, their spirit, their confidence, their future. I want them broken the same way I broke you." Let me repeat that because I know some of you probably think I'm exaggerating. Roman Reigns literally admitted to breaking his own cousin's spirit and then demanded that Jey do the same to an innocent wrestler whose only crime was showing potential and heart. Think about this for a second. Comment below and tell me, what kind of person asks their family member to destroy someone else's dreams just to prove loyalty? What kind of monster takes the trauma they've inflicted on their own blood relative and weaponizes it against a complete stranger? But wait, it gets worse. Roman didn't just ask Jey to end this wrestler's career, he gave him a timeline. 3 weeks. Jey has exactly 3 weeks to completely demolish this person's future in WWE, and if he fails? Roman made it crystal clear that not only would Jey face consequences, but his entire family would be re-evaluated in terms of their position within the company. Can you imagine the pressure Jey is under right now? His own cousin, his family, is essentially holding his livelihood hostage and demanding that he become a career-ending monster. This isn't booking, this isn't storyline development, this is pure psychological manipulation on a level that should concern every single wrestling fan. Here's what makes this situation even more infuriating. Roman framed this entire twisted request as helping Jey. He actually had the audacity to claim that by forcing Jey to destroy someone else's career, he was teaching him to be strong and preparing him for the business. As if inflicting trauma and ending dreams is some kind of valuable life lesson. The wrestling industry has always been tough, but this crosses every line imaginable. Roman is essentially asking Jey to become everything that's wrong with wrestling culture, the backstage politics, the deliberate sabotage, the destruction of careers for personal gain, and he's wrapping it up in family loyalty and calling it love. What's your take on this? Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think Jey should stand up to Roman once and for all, or is he too broken down to fight back at this point? Because honestly, watching this play out is like witnessing someone slowly drown while the person who threw them in the water offers to teach them to swim. The worst part about all of this is that Roman genuinely believes he's justified. According to multiple sources, he spent over an hour on that phone call explaining to Jey why this was necessary for the family business. He talked about legacy, about respect, about maintaining their position at the top of WWE's hierarchy. But what he's really talking about is fear, his own terror that his reign of psychological terror is coming to an end. Think about Roman's recent matches and storylines. Every single one has involved some form of manipulation, coercion, or psychological warfare. He can't just be a great wrestler anymore, he has to be a puppet master pulling everyone's strings. And now he's turned his own family into unwilling participants in his twisted power games. Here's a question for all the Roman Reigns defenders out there: at what point does complex character development become just plain evil? Comment below, because I genuinely want to understand how anyone can still support what this man has become. But let's talk about the victim in all of this, the wrestler whose career Roman wants destroyed. This person has been working their entire life to reach this level, probably sacrificing everything for a chance to perform in WWE. They've earned their spot through talent, dedication, and heart. And now they're about to become collateral damage in Roman's sick family psychology experiment. The identity of this wrestler is being kept secret for obvious reasons, but sources describe them as someone with incredible potential and a pure love for the business. Sound familiar? It should, because that's exactly what Jey Uso used to be before Roman systematically destroyed his confidence and independence. This is Roman's pattern, and it's absolutely disgusting. He identifies people with genuine passion and talent, then systematically breaks them down until they become extensions of his own twisted will. He did it to Jey, he's trying to do it to Jimmy, and now he's using Jey as a weapon to do it to someone else. The phone call reportedly lasted over 2 hours, with Roman alternating between threats and fake sympathy. One minute he was reminding Jey of all the opportunities he'd provided, the next he was subtly threatening Jey's future and family security. Classic manipulation tactics that would make a therapist sick to their stomach. What really gets me angry is how Roman keeps talking about family while systematically destroying the mental health of his actual family members. He's turned Sunday dinner conversations into strategy sessions, family gatherings into recruitment meetings, and brotherly love into conditional approval based on blind obedience. Tell me in the comments, do you think WWE management knows how deep this psychological manipulation goes? Because if they do and they're allowing it to continue, that makes them complicit in some seriously disturbing behavior. Here's another infuriating detail: Roman apparently ended the phone call by telling Jey that he believed in him and knew he would do the right thing. The right thing. As if destroying someone's career and dreams could ever be considered the right thing by any moral standard. Jey, according to sources, barely spoke during the entire conversation. He listened, occasionally said, "I understand," and hung up the phone. But witnesses say he sat in his car for over an hour afterward, just staring at nothing. Can you imagine the internal conflict this man is going through right now? On one hand, he's been conditioned through months of psychological abuse to believe that Roman's approval is essential for his survival in WWE. On the other hand, he's being asked to inflict that same trauma on an innocent person who reminds him of what he used to be before Roman broke his spirit. This brings up a crucial question that I want you to answer in the comments: is Jey Uso still salvageable as a character, or has Roman's manipulation damaged him beyond repair? Because watching someone you once respected slowly lose their moral compass is honestly heartbreaking. The timeline Roman gave Jey isn't arbitrary either. 3 weeks from now, WWE has several major storylines concluding, and Roman wants this wrestler's career ended in a way that looks natural within the existing booking. He's not just asking Jey to hurt someone, he's asking him to do it in a way that protects Roman's image and maintains plausible deniability. That level of calculated cruelty is what separates Roman from every other heel character in wrestling history. Most villains are driven by emotion, anger, or simple greed. Roman is driven by a cold, calculating desire to control every aspect of everyone around him, and he's smart enough to make it look like business decisions or family loyalty. Here's what I predict is going to happen, and I want you to comment below and tell me if you agree. Jey is going to struggle with this decision for the full 3 weeks. He's going to have moments where he almost stands up to Roman, but ultimately, the psychological conditioning is too strong. He's going to follow through with Roman's plan, and it's going to destroy both his victim and whatever remained of his own soul. The saddest part is that Roman probably already knows this. He studied Jey's psychology so thoroughly that he can predict exactly how his cousin will react to any given situation. This phone call wasn't a request, it was Roman pushing buttons that he installed through months of systematic psychological abuse. But here's where it gets even more twisted. Sources suggest that Roman has been planning this specific scenario for months. The wrestler he wants Jey to destroy isn't a random target, there's someone Roman has been watching and evaluating, waiting for the perfect moment to use them as a test case for his ultimate control over Jey. Think about the implications of that. Roman has been essentially stalking another wrestler's career, studying their matches, their potential, their trajectory, all while planning to use them as a pawn in his sick family dynamics. That's not character development, that's sociopathic behavior. What makes this even more infuriating is that WWE's creative team seems to be enabling this behavior. Instead of addressing the genuinely concerning psychological elements of Roman's character, they're leaning into it and presenting it as compelling television. But there's a line between complex storytelling and glorifying actual psychological abuse. I want to hear from parents in the comments. Are you comfortable with your kids watching Roman Reigns essentially model textbook manipulation and emotional abuse techniques? Because that's what's happening here, whether WWE wants to admit it or not. The wrestling industry has always walked a fine line between entertainment and reality, but Roman's recent behavior crosses that line completely. He's not playing a character anymore, he's become a character, and that character is genuinely disturbing on multiple levels. Here's another question for the comments. Do you think there's any way back for Roman Reigns as a sympathetic character? Or has he crossed too many lines to ever be redeemed in the eyes of fans who understand what he's really doing to his family? The phone call ended with Roman reminding Jey that family takes care of family, but what he really meant was that family destroys whoever threatens Roman's power structure, even if that means destroying themselves in the process. That's not love, that's cult-like control that has no place in professional wrestling. As I wrap up this expose of Roman's latest psychological warfare, I want you to think about something. Wrestling is supposed to be escapist entertainment that inspires us to be better, to fight harder, to never give up on our dreams. But Roman Reigns has become something that actively crushes dreams, destroys spirits, and models the worst aspects of human behavior. So here's my final challenge for the comments section. How do we as wrestling fans respond to this? Do we continue to support storylines that glorify psychological abuse and emotional manipulation? Or do we demand better from the industry we love? The choice is ours, but Jey Uso doesn't have that luxury. He has 3 weeks to decide between his own psychological survival and the destruction of an innocent wrestler's career. And thanks to months of systematic abuse from his own family, we all know which choice his broken spirit is going to make. That's the real tragedy here, not just what Roman has become, but what he's turned his family into. And if we don't speak up about it, we're all complicit in whatever comes next.